Hello, welcome to the Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to the Frame Mindset Podcast. My name is Constant Brooks, and in this episode, I talk about learning the roles in the company, in your company or whatever organization can really help you a lot in the sense that understanding the role can basically um limit your frustration or your anger towards a certain role. Like, for example, you'd have heard my previous experiences, with the HR. And, it's always a typical thing, if you look at all the 95 memes, you'd be like, HR is one of those negative things. But to me, I never have that view of the HR. What I always looked at was the experience compared to the work. So like my first experience dealing with that HR was the fact that they was giving they were setting some expectations of the work that it never made no sense, like compared to the work. This was one of the things where like HR and that thing was like, yo, the experience, what I was supposed to be doing, the expectations. It was like, bro, it's like this person never did that work. It never really did that work. So it can't, it's just one of those things where it was basically like a startup and be like, yo, you're setting big company expectations and thing we just, we just starting. And it's like, but I guess that was my experience and be like, yo, uh, it was really something. It was really something. But what happened was I basically new to the working world. I was basically new to the working world. So even though that would be standard, that would be something standard. I had a very negative connotation towards it because I'm basically young, fresh out of university, and then the thing is, it wasn't a job that was in my field or stuff. But the requirement was basically ludicrous for me at the time. And it's like, yeah. So what happened was that the second experience would be the most recent job that I was cut out of. And the thing about it is that to me, the HR as in hierarchy in a company, and companies apparent, the HR was very competent and stuff. But it was I went in there and the various interaction, the what happens, I saw the good side of how a HR can operate, like the benefits of what a HR can do. Like for example, if you want to open an account and stuff like that, you go to them for a job letter and all those stuff. So it's like there's a lot of good things that an HR can do. But what happens is that then the one bad thing that you usually go for the HR for was being reprimanded or be or being fired or resigned or stuff like that. So that's usually the negative aspect of it that you actually being associated with them. When I reach a competent company like that, that's where that's where you see that level of the power and be like, but you see the level of of the power they can do as well, level of good they can do as well. So now you're at this another level now at a bigger company. The thing is that what you are seeing now at this new company, all our bigger companies, that you have an HR team and they're basically, as I said, this new work is not more risky. You can't be doing no stop work and stuff like that. So like, and it's a lot more people. So there's like a lot more HR people being managing all these people, and then boom, what will happen? what based on that I would say is that you can just basically get randomly called for no reason because this one is more regulated. This space is more regulated compared to before where you just some big scenario would happen and then boom you reach the HR in the last company. This one is more regulated because there are more HR on the job basically doing all those stuff. But the thing basically what I'm saying is that you if you know the role now, you don't really basically have a negative connotation going through it because you basically know what to expect. You know what IHR does. You know who if they call you or if you go there, you know exactly what you're expecting. If you know your role, you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing in the job. So you don't really go in there surprised, you know that okay, I'm just going there every day. I'm supposed to be executing this. And then what will happen is that when everybody in your company know your role, they know that yo, boom, when it's time to do this, you're the one to call. And then boom, if you just focus on doing your role correct, then you'll become a reliable person. Be like, yo, all right, when I give it to him, that that role is set. So that's basically one of the things that for this episode. You have to actually learn the roles and the power of the roles in your organization, the importance. Because my role, basically I do some lifting and stuff like that. And what you don't realize is that I said the simplest, like the last work that I was doing was basically customer service. And the thing is that people, you don't realize how that is, people, it's to me, that will kind of be somewhat a lower level. But in a lower level, or it works on a lower level and it's really demanding. But you don't really know how important when you do that work effectively, that really boosts a company's morale because the customer is really just appreciated for that. Boom. Every time I call or every time I deal with our customer service, boom, it's really done right. Really done right. Same thing with the new work that I'm basically doing. You hear me say something, I'm basically just doing some lifting and stuff like that. But if you're really on the floor and see the process that goes through when I'm doing those lifting and all those stuff that I have to protocol and stuff that I have to follow, and then boom, you just basically see me going in there, boom, 9 o'clock, leave 5 o'clock, and between that hour I did so many stuff that basically this basically brought it down to lifting. But when I come in and come out, boom, it's like I've gone through so much stuff that I safely I safely accomplished so much tasks for people. And if that work wasn't there, there was really a lot more customers lifting up stuff and be like, bro, so it's like it does one of those stuff where you be like, yo, the role, no matter how significant and insignificant you think your role is, bro, you don't really know how valuable that role is until actually there. Yeah, until actually there. Like if you were to remove that role, there's so many things that would have gone, so many things that would have really gone wrong, or so many things would have make it really bad. Be like, oh my god, it's a good thing that that role is there. So that's one of those things to be like, yo, know the role in your company and know to actually execute it well because, yo, we actually do it well. It really boosts the company things. And it makes, the rewarding thing now in this new work so far is that I do basically go in there and it's a lot of hard work. But once I finish, I basically just boom, take off my clothes, my working clothes, go back in my normal clothes, and I just come out feeling so accomplished and be like, bro, and it's like a day's done. And it's like, that's all it was. Yeah. So that's basically it for this episode. Thank you for listening. I look forward for the next episode. Mhm. And one of the next reasons why I said learn the rules and stuff can really help you a lot in a company and stuff like that. Because you know in this environment, I'm dealing with things like, for example, dogs. Dogs. You know, if you listen, you realize they are my street dogs. And the thing about it is that these dogs are well trained. But I'm not risking it and stuff like that. But and then you have officers as well. Officers as well. So like these two people, on a normal basis, there's a lot of negative connotation that's associated with them and stuff like that. Because what happens is that you don't, you know, you so far you never know what their role, like our officer, you never know what exactly their role is, and what happens that usually on a normal basis, what you see is that you see the negative side. You see when they're abusing power. That's all the sides that you're seeing when they're abusing the power and stuff like that. That's all the side you're seeing. But I'm working in this company and I see how you know how they in if oh in this company when they're actually doing those stuff, the officers and the dogs, their role is so important, and when they do it, it's very symbiotic with our work, that you know we don't have to worry, because they just executing their role, we executing their role, and it just basically works out okay. The dog's executing his role as well, and it's all okay. But outside of the work, there's a lot of connotation going with the dogs and stuff, and the officers and stuff, because what happens that a lot of input or effort did not go into actually place under making the people understand what is the role of these people. You just come in and see them in their big power. So, like, I saw and they say, boom, uh, you know, people just be successful out of the blue. Like, you don't see a police officer just being a police officer out of the blue. You don't see all the background stuff. It's like an odd sport. You just see a police officer or a soldier or stuff like that being that person out of the blue with all this power and this big machinery. But you never know if you never took the time to actually uh, look into it, you never know the role. You never absolutely, unless you actually go in and do the research. And if you do the research, you can never tell. When you're out in the street, you can never tell if they're actually going to execute that role, or in the correct way, or they're going to use the power. And the reason for that is that you have the animosity of criminals and stuff, so you can't be out there being soft and such. So you have that side as well. But yeah, you have the other side where, bro, you can. It's like when you just see them, you can't tell, never tell. You can be honest with them, like, say, okay, you see them X time and be like, yo, they're out here doing some traffic thing. So I guess the negative connotation is really both on the citizen side and the officer side, the lack of distrust. But in this company so far, what I've seen is that how though that thing where outside of company there are so many negative animosity, and it can be very symbiotic. It's like it's so different, and it's like this new working place. What I realize is that this new working place is so different than the real world, because there are so many regulations that goes into ensuring that the job is done right. This is a more competent company compared to the one that I was before. And you see all these other roles coming together and be like, oh my god, if they implemented some of these stuff. No, no, I don't. Yes, I mean, I don't. And no, no, not in the real world. Not in the real world. You have to do it smartly. You have to do it smartly. But what happens is that you're seeing the roles being done effectively. And be like, it is possible. It is possible. But it's just one of those things where it takes a lot of culture shift. That's most of the problems in the world is a lot of culture shift. I don't know how in the world they built that culture, I just came in and see it and be like, yo. But seeing it from my own eyes, be like, yo, it's possible. It's possible. But it does one of those things where if you did not learn the role, if you did not know the role of what that officer role was in that organization, you would have you what would happen is that you go in with a negative connotation that you have from the streets or the real world into this working place and be like, oh my god, is it that I have this negative connotation, and then boom, you basically maybe get the negative um the negative results that you see in the streets and stuff on the job, and then basically you lose theirs as well. Lose theirs as well. So that's one of those things where you be like, yo, you have to learn the rules. Like just have to learn your rights and stuff. You have to learn the rules as well so that you can basically be effective in your job and not actually ensuring that yo, the person that are dealing with you are being effective in their role as well and doing the right thing. I think that is another thing to basically better our society. When everybody know their role and can check a role. Like for example, you know, I do science and stuff, and boom, when a pandemic, something like a pandemic comes, you don't see non-pandemic related people having a lot more say pandemic than pandemic related people. Those when those things happen, when you have non-pandemic related people having more say than the pandemic related people, then you have a lot of breakdown because you'll be like, bro, the hierarchy is being broken. You're having people with less expertise on the topic giving you big commands that affects lives than people that are actually experts in the field. So, seeing that environment be like, okay, first is expertise in that field doing his role. I'm expertise in my field doing my role. When everybody work together, everything everything works symbiotically. Everybody works symbiotically and stuff, and you don't see anything. Everybody knows their roles. When it's my expertise, I come in do my work. When it's their expertise, they do their work, and when the other person expertise come, that's how it's supposed to be done correctly. You know, so learn the role, very important in business or in life as well, just to prevent a pandemic like this. They'll be like, yo, you made the expert do their stuff. So that's basically for this episode. Thank you for listening. I look forward for our next episode.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.